Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Goodwood Racecourse here on Tuesday. It's the 30th of July, 2024. It's the first day of the glorious Goodwood meeting, and I'm going to look at the stakes races, the group races on the program. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for race courses around the world. And join me this week also for my Saratoga previews. This is one of the premier weeks of racing at Saratoga. I say Travers Week and probably Whitney Week is number 2. And it's the Whitney Day Saturday, one of the premier races for all the horses at Saratoga. So it's an excellent card Saturday from Saratoga. You also have the Saratoga Derby in Oaks this week, and just in general, join me this weekend for my Goodwood and Saratoga previews. Also, to end off the week, we have Deauville on Sunday and throughout the month also, so it's just a really good week of racing. But we're going to look at the stakes races here in day 1 of the glorious Goodwood meeting, races 2, 3, and 4, the 2:25, the 3 o'clock, and the 3:35. So let's get to the action right now, starting off with the 2:25, the second race from Goodwood, which is the Group 2 Vintage Stakes. It's a Group 2 event for Class 1 horses, going for a purse of $225,000, race for 2-year-olds only. 8 horses are going 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs on the turf course. Going to take the 2-horse Amari City as a top selection. 264 for me in the TriCash trifecta. 264 TriCash trifecta, top selection 2-horse Amari City. This 2-year-old colt by Waysif's Dream. Godolphin known Charlie Appley trains William Buick gets him out. William Buick starting this week at Goodwood, ending the week off at Saratoga, along with Ryan Moore. They both have mounts at Saratoga Friday and Saturday. But Amori City, his most recent race came the 11th of July, so about 3 weeks ago at Newmarket on the July course, 6 furlongs in the Group 2 July Stakes, and he finished third by 2 1/4 lengths that day. He was with him early on, just tracking the pace. He just couldn't get up the final furlong of the hill well there at Newmarket, which could be very tough on that July course, but he got down the race course well. He's going to come back to yielding ground today. He could be forwardly paced, which isn't half bad. I think he could find a trip to win and improve off that race. Also, I think he's been crying out for a 7 furlong trip. He's been running over 6, and he hasn't been running half bad over 6, but 7 is what he wants to do. 2 back, he ran Nottingham 13th of June, 6 furlongs in a Class 5 novice race, and he won by a half length that day, and basically on the front end, he quickened up nicely, and he got the job done. Probably could have won by more, but James Doyle didn't want to kill the horse. That was a very good maiden debut victor. Came back, like I said, last time out at Newmarket, where he ran okay, but he just wanted more ground. He's going to get it today. Back here at Newmarket, back here at Goodwood, or coming here to Goodwood for the first time, he could definitely win. I'll use him on the ticket. I think the 6-horse to Patreon for Coolmore, Aiden O'Brien, and Ryan Moore could win also. This 2-year-old colt by Kingman. Most recently in main race at Gowan over the 7 on fast ground, 16th of June. He won by 3/4 length that day, and just didn't have the best beginnings that day, but he sat back early. He really had to turn a foot late to get the job done, and after all that said and done, I thought he ran a terrific race. On debut, he just had a little bit too much ground to gain the Group 3 Marble Hill Stakes at the Curragh, 6 furlongs, 25th of May. He finished 5th by 1.5 lengths that day, and he sat back early, moved a little bit late, but he still needs something more. Another horse, I think, coming back to 7, he has a bit of a wide poster, which isn't that bad on this track. He could be forwardly, I think he'll find a good forward pace to close up into. I think he could get the job done also. I would use him in the quad pot here, but I do think Amari City is your likeliest winner in this spot, but it's a very good race here. I think you go a few ways. But to recount my selection now for the 2:25, the second race from Goodwood, it is the Group 2 Vintage Stakes. Going to take the 2-horse Amari City. Give kudos to the 6-horse to Pantheon. 264 TriCash Trifecta. 2-6 in the multi-race. The third race now, the 3 o'clock, it is the Group 2 Lennox Stakes. It's a Group 2 event for Class 1 horses, going for a $228,500 purse, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Field of 8 horses, going 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs on the turf course. Going to take the 3-horse English Oak as a top selection. 3-4-5 for me in the TriCash Trifecta. 3-4-5 TriCash Trifecta, top selection 3-horse English Oak. 4-year-old colt by Wooden Bassett at Walker trains. James Doyle gets the mount. The horse's most recent appearance came in a Class 2 handicap at Ascot, the Buckingham Palace handicap, 7 furlongs, 20th of June, and the horse went by 3 lengths that day, and he basically had a dream trip tracking all the way down the race course. When James Doyle said pushed the button to go with him, he took off clear as a 7-2 lukewarm favorite. He flew home clear. That was a very good run. Refreshing here to stakes quality horses for the first time shouldn't be a problem. He's definitely been on improving the handicaps to step up here today. It's not the world's deepest stakes race either. I think he's sitting on a very good run, and I think he could find the winner's circle today. His most recent race have been incredible here. He ran terrifically in a Class 3 handicap at Haydock over the 7, 25th of May. He won by 4 1/4 lengths that day, and again, from a tracking trip, he quickened him nicely. and it went away with it. A very good, strong, easy race for him that day. And then Guineas weekend in Newmarket, 7 furlongs on the Rolly Mile on a Class 2 handicap. He finished second by 2 lengths that day, and again, he sat back early. He moved a little bit late, maybe just a little bit flat off the bench, but he had a lot of ground to gain, so I'll just give him maybe a little bit closer that day would have suited him better, but I'll give him a break off the bench that day. And then at Ascot last October, 6th of October, 6 furlongs in a Class 6 handicap, finished second by a neck that day, and they were flying early on the front, and then the pace kind of melted down. He moved a little bit late, but I do think his better running style is over the 7. He ran prior to that in a Heritage handicap over the mile at York last year, where he finished 8th by 7 lengths, never getting a good trip from the back of the pack. I think with a smaller group here today, drawn very well, has been improving with every race this season. He could definitely win. This is leg 1, the quad pot here. With this one, I would definitely use him there. I would also use the 4-horse Kinross in the quad pot. He has a very good poster today from the 8-hole. 7-row Gelman by Kingman. Ralph Beckett trains. Russell Ryan gets meant. Biggest question with this horse is, the only horse jockey that can connect with this horse to victor, it seems like it's Frankie Dettori. Since Frankie hasn't been on him in his last 2 starts, he hasn't really been running well. He didn't run at all in the July Cup, to be honest with you, over the 6th at Newmarket 3 weeks ago, where he finished 8th by 5 lengths, and he just never got into it. Prior to that, in the Chip Chase 2 weeks prior at Newcastle over the 6th, he finished second by 3/4 length that day, where he was with him early on. He just couldn't get the good turn of foot late, maybe neither race that day off the bench, but he ran okay. I do think he does his better running style at this trip. He's 12 for 7 at the 7 furlong trip, with finishing in the money 9 of those starts, so that's something he wants to do. The last time he ran 7 actually came in the Group 1 Prix de la Forêt at Longchamp over the 7, where he finished second by half a length that day. And again, he sat back early, had a bit of a bumpy trip around the fall straight, but he ran terrifically behind Kalina that day. Prior to that, in last year's City of York Stakes over the 7 at York last August, he won by 3/4 length. And again, closing up from mid-pack, he really had the turn of foot to win that day. And he won this one last year. Had to be an awful lot on the very demanding round, but he got there in the nick of time. He's the kind of horse, he does his better running styles towards the end of the summer to the early fall, or to the fall campaign. He's not a summer, he's not a spring and early summer kind of horse. So maybe we're going to the end of summer now. He'll start doing his running, because last year he ran horribly in the July Cup and horribly in the Queen Elizabeth Jubilee Stakes at Ascot last June. But back to 7. I think he could get a trip to win. I'm going to use him here at 5-2 on the quad pod. But the biggest question is, can he win without Frankie on his back? That's my biggest question. But to recap my selection for 3 o'clock now, the third race from Goodwood, it is the Lennox Stakes. Going to take the 3-horse English Oak. Give kudos to the 4-horse Kinross. 3, 4, 5, TriCast, trifecta, 3, 4 in the quad pot. So let's get to the 4th race now, the 3:35, the featured race on the program. It is the Group 1 Goodwood Cup. It's a Group 1 event for Class 1 horses, going for a purse of $635,000, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Field of 7 horses, going 3,200 meters, or 2 miles over the flat course. Lost my train of thought for a second. Okay, with the 5-4 Sweet William as a top selection. 5-4-3 in the TriCast trifecta. 5-4-3 TriCast trifecta. Top selection of 5-4 Sweet William. This 5-row Gelding by See the Stars. John Thady Gosden trains. Rab Havlin gets the mount. Getting blinkers on again today. Most recent race came to Group 1 Ascot Gold Cup. 2.5 miles, 20th of June, and he finished 3rd by 6 lengths that day. He had a little bit too much ground game behind Cripros that day, who really had a bit of a stupidly wide trip that day, and won for fun that day. This horse, he just had ground the game, but he was traveling decently. He had a decent turn of foot. I didn't think it was a half bad race. Coming back to 2 miles and hopefully a little bit closer than he did last time out, and hopefully breaking well on the gate. I think he had the other side Creepos today. He ran terrifically in the Henry VI Stakes at Sandown, 2 miles, 23rd of May. He won by a head that day, and he didn't break so well. It's probably cost him some more margin of victory, but he didn't get out of the gate so clearly. He stepped back early, slowly moved his way into the race, and he got the job going away late. 8 cents, or 5-2 lukewarm favorite. He really took off clear that day. And then prior to that, in the Group 3 Cigar Stakes at Ascot, 2 miles on the 1st of May, he finished 3rd by 1/4 lengths that day, and he abused a lot that day off the bench. He just wasn't staying. Coltrane just found some hidden form to get the job done. But this horse, needed the race that day. And then the long distance cup at Ascot over the 2 miles last October, he finished 3rd by 13 lengths that day, and he just never was really into it. He was just a little lackadaisical. I think the sloppy ground got to him. He ran here last year, actually, at Goodwood in a handicap, a Class 2 handicap with mile 3/4, mile 6. He won by 2 3/4 lengths that day, and again, horrible beginning. He sat back early, but the turn of foot he went away with late was quite impressive. Came back to run at the in the Eber handicap over the mile 3/4 at York after that, where he had a massive second place finish again, completely missing the break that day, but he really traveled decently to get the plays there. And then behind Shushan in the Doncaster Cup again, he broke decently that day. What he calls decently, but he just missed. But he has that electric turn of foot. Early on in his career, they're running him over the mile half, mile and 3/8, mile quarter, where he was running okay. But since coming to the staying trips, a mile 6 and up, that's where he's really been doing his best running. Coming here back to 2 miles, hopefully breaking out the gate. Should like a little give in the ground, which he's going to see. I think he'd get the job done. I think the 4 is Kripos. I can't say his name right. Pardon me. 6-year-old horse by Galileo. I know Brian trains. Ryan Moore picks up the mount on him. He's probably one of the best steers in the world right now. He won the Gold Cup at Ascot from a stupidly wide trip last time, quite impressively. Won before that the Love Moss even impressively, where he just won for fun that day. And then won the Vintage Crop at Navan before that, again, even easier. His only subpar race was on the very demanding ground at Ascot last October, where he just wasn't keeping up. And then this Irish St. Ledger, where he just was, again, just never was getting into it that day. I thought he just saw a little bit too soft or too fast ground for his liking. Also off the 10-month refreshing, probably neither race that day. It's pretty Cadron before that, where he won by 3 dozen lengths. That was quite impressive there. But refreshing here off some decent runs, he could definitely win, but it does scare me. We're going to see a little give in the ground. Let's see if he could do his running style with that give in the ground. I think he probably can. I'll use him in the quad pot, but that is a question I have. I think also the 3-horse Gregory has a bit of an outsider for James Doyle, and John Dady Gosling can win also. Didn't do a lot of runnings where he weakened out of it in the Gold Cup at Ascot last time out. Prior to that, he ran okay in the Yorkshire Cup at York over the mile 3/4. I thought he won more ground off the bench, but I've seen worse race for him. And then, last year's last year's St. Ledger at Doncaster, he finished 5th by 5.5 lengths, where he just kind of, yielded late. But his Queen Vase last year wasn't bad at all. The Coaked Hat wasn't bad at all. Even the Great Voltaire, where I thought he wanted more ground, wasn't bad at all. Come back to a staying trip at 7-1. You might have to get a little quicker on the speed figure side, but I've seen worse. He could definitely win here. I've seen worse runs from other horses that seem to win this race. But to recap my selection for 335, now the 4th race from Goodwood. It's Group 1 Goodwood Cup. Going to use the 5-horse Sweet William, 5-4-3, Tri-Cash, Trifecta. We'll use all 3 of them in the quad pot here. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5, and join me throughout the week for some more Goodwood previews. Good luck, everybody.